Get ready! Kristina's live stream is about to start!
On the grind, getting paid, flipping locks, never fade. Downsizing dreams, but the vision never swayed. Living large, more space, tiny homes and new craze. Stack on stacks, making moves in these real estate waves. Manufactured magic, on land it's elastic. Cost cut tactics, but living ain't tragic. Mortgage demons slain, payments ain't passive. Affordability, modern life, that's classic. Tiny homes, big dreams, stacking up the cream. Modular escapes, not just what it seems. Locks in a box, making mad streams. Affordable palace fitting in the beams. Kristina on the stream, showing schemes to the team. Tiny living planes, soaring high supremes. Locks in a box, making mad streams. Affordable palace fitting in the.
I'm so disappointed. He played the wrong one. Jake, I'm so sorry. I made a whole video. It will happen next week. I promise. I promise. I made a whole video with your song that you created. I'm so sorry. I even put it up there like country, and I even put it at the top. He just didn't even see it. I'm so sorry. I promise, Jake. Jake made me a whole song of for the live streams, and I even sent an email back. You may want to watch the stream. Sorry, Jake. But today we're going to be talking about the shift in the housing market. We're going to be talking about interest rates and mortgages, because we have a very special guest on here today, finally, without any kind of stomach virus or whatever the case may be, why he couldn't be here last week. We finally have Mr. Kyle Seagraves. Yay! And he's going to put him on the screen.
Hello? Now I feel bad for Jake. I don't even know what the actual video is.
Oh, well, everybody in the audience needs to let me know if they want to hear the other version, and I'll play it. But it was a country music version, and it was actually, the words of it were really cute. Yeah. Oh, poor Jake shared it, thinking that it was going to be his song that he made. Man.
Poor Jake. Well, I don't think I've seen that intro. Did you play something like that last time?
No, this is all new. This is all new. Yeah. So,
Man.
like, if anybody doesn't know, like, I'm kind of trying to shift up the housing market live streams a little bit. You'll see an intro and an outro that I've made. And I also now have a telephone number that people can call and leave their questions for the live stream. It's like an answering service. It's done with AI. The phone number is 888-255-0197. And you leave a message for me. You hear AI Kristina answer the phone. It says, "Thank you for calling into my live stream." They say I sound angry. It's an angry Kristina.
Okay.
And then
I want to call it.
Yeah, well, call it. Go ahead and call it and see what happens. You grab your phone.
What was the number again?
Yeah, it's 888.
Okay.
255 0197.
0197. Let's see. All right, this better sound angry.
This is Kristina Smallhorn. Thanks for calling into my live stream. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
Kyle.
I didn't quite catch that.
Oh.
Could you please tell me your name and the city and state you're calling from?
Jake, and I'm pissed. Wait, who does this go? Who does this go? Who does this go to?
It goes to
you
me.
Just get,
I
like,
have
a little transcription.
I have an online system now that records these calls, and then I take the recording and take out all the questions that the AI asks, and then I put it together as a call that you'll see on the screen. You'll hear. I only got one call this week, so you'll get to see what it looks like for everybody in a bit.
That's pretty sweet.
It's a way for people to call into the live stream and get their answers to their real estate questions.
Okay.
I'm excited for it. You know, we had like 5 the first time, we had 3 the next time, we've had 1 this week. I don't know how popular it's going to be. I'm going to try it for a year, and I think it's a great way to engage with the audience. So anyway,
okay.
Everybody wants to hear the original tune from Jake. All right. First, let's ask. There's 88 people on here. How many people want to hear Jake's version of the intro before we get into the meat of the potato? We got one here, and I'm asking the whole audience because, I mean, it was so cute, and I like hurried up and made a little video. All right, we got Kyle said me. We only got 3 people answering, but nobody said no.
I really want you. Like, can we get a live version of you singing it too?
Absolutely not. There's many
with
things.
A little Southern accent in there too, and do the whole thing.
Southern.
Yeah, but you can put one on, you know.
Yeah, Justin said no. Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe we'll just give a little sample of it. Eddie, if you could do just a little sample of it, we'll just give him a little taste of it, and then we'll get into the article, which is about the real estate market shifting a little bit in the buyer's favor. Thank God. Thank God. About time. Oh, maybe Eddie forgot it. Okay, let me
get ready. Kristina's live stream is about to start.
Down in Baton Rouge, there's a whisper on the wind. A mama blogger with a heart that never bends.
All right, so you get the idea, get the vibe. You get the vibe.
We only get like 2 seconds of it.
Yeah, you get the vibe. That's just a little teaser for next week, so you have to tune in.
Oh man,
You'll have to tune in next week. If you want to come back next week, you're more than welcome to.
I was already preparing my little cowboy hat here.
Oh, look
here
at
we
that.
go.
Oh,
I'm ready. I'm so ready.
That's so cute. I love that.
I'm ready for it. All right, I'll at least tune in next time, so I'm prepared.
All right, so let's get into the article. Let's talk about it. Go ahead, Eddie. Put it up on the screen for the. That's why everybody's here. We've been yammering for a hot minute. Noreen, I will get to your question because I think that is a good question. I promise. As soon as Eddie. All right, here we go. Housing market shift is here, where home buyers are gaining power fast because every real estate market is different. Some real estate markets are still seeing an increase, but there are some that the buyers finally have control. When assessing a home's price momentum, ResiClub believes it's important to monitor active listings and monthly supply. If active listings start rapidly increasing or get very high as homes remain on the market for longer, it indicates that pricing may be weak. Conversely, a rapid decline in active listings suggests the market is heating up. In August of 2024, there were fewer than 26% fewer U.S. homes for sale compared to August 2019. Given that there's not a lot of excess amount of unsold inventory on the national market, it makes sense that spiked mortgage rates and strained affordability so far hasn't coincided with regional price corrections. And that is the biggest thing. And I'm sure you've seen this too, because you're in the mortgage industry. When people see that mortgage rates, like at one time got up to 8%, they were like, oh, this is it. Home prices are going to take. It's all going to crash. It's all going down in a burning fire. And like in the markets that had the most new construction saw the biggest price adjustment, like Austin, Texas. But regional, like nationally, we did not see price corrections like that because they don't have this supply of homes on the market. Is that like that in your area?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people, when rates were like 8%, we saw people on the sidelines and then waiting for the Fed cut to then that's going to change prices so much. But the markets are way more sensitive to inventory than to the rates.
Yep. Noreen wants to know who you are. This is Kyle Seagraves. He is from the channel Win the House You Love, and he is our mortgage expert because I will tell you very little about mortgages. I let people like Kyle. I'm
your other AI. I'm the mortgage AI here.
Yep. National inventory for the sale on the rise between August 2023 to 2024, suggesting that many regional housing markets have softened as buyers aren't purchasing houses as quickly as they are being listed. Simply put, buyers have gained some more leverage in the resale markets over the past year, with some markets even becoming a buyer's market. And like I said, we were seeing that in Austin, Texas. So this is the map. I thought this was pretty interesting, is the map of the 12-month change of active listings in metro areas. So if you look at Florida, and that goes along with that question that Noreen had earlier about about insurance. And that's where I think a lot of the inventory supply issue has caused is caused by the cost of taxes and, of course, insurance. Some people can't even find insurance for their houses. They can't find it's wild. It's wild. But, some other areas where you see those dark green bubbles, it's because they had a lot of new construction. And then when you go into areas like in New Jersey and Pennsylvania and everything, they just don't have the same supply of houses. And if they do have a lot of new construction, it's those higher end homes that wouldn't fill that affordability gap. So, Oh, the Woodlands has got a good bit of inventory going on there. I don't know if you know that area.
Yeah, what's the Woodlands?
It's outside of Houston. They have all sorts of little suburbs outside of Houston, like the Woodlands, Kingwood, that area. They're nice. Okay. They popped up like crazy in the 80s and 90s, and now they're a little bit older, but they're still growing. All right, scroll down a bit, my love. Not you, Kyle. You can be my love too, but
Thanks.
Husband in the background. The Metro map above, which is sized by total active listing count, removes some of the noise from the county map and shows that the biggest inventory jumps over the past year are concentrated across the Sun Belt. That's all that area that the investors bought in. Many of those Sun Belt markets are greater concentration of new construction. Like I said, Kristina's a genius. Home builders who have greater margins to make affordable adjustments could be attracting buyers who otherwise look at the resale market. This cooling will help strain affordability in helping to increase days on the market, months of supply, and active listings. So you do a lot of loans. I'm sure you've seen a lot of builders making these concessions to get the deal done.
Yeah.
Buying down rates, right?
Yeah. And builders have a lot more wiggle room than, on the existing market, because builders also usually have some sort of like in-house lender. And so since they both are technically separate, but kind of work together, they can kind of pull from two pools of money to be able to, provide some of those incentives that normally just a normal home seller wouldn't be able to provide. So the new builds are really attractive for a lot of people. And if I was a buyer, I'd be looking at a lot of new builds because of how much either pricing concessions you're getting, buy downs, or even like add-ons you can get to the home. They're trying to be as competitive as possible.
The only thing I'll warn you about is, please, if you're looking at new construction, please, for the love of all that's holy, have a home inspection. Have a home inspection, and do not close on that home until all the inspection repair requests have been completed. This is a brand new home. Do not sign on the dotted line until the day that everything is done. Don't let them say to you, we'll get it done after we close. Do not do that. Do not allow them to do that. Like I'm hearing more and more nightmare stories. Like, we've been having this list for over a year. We can't get them to come out. Like, this is leaking. Like, I'm just here. It's piling up more and more and more. I'm hearing a lot more of, because the builders are trying to get these off their hands, and they're not running as tight as a ship as they should be. So
there's a lot of people, I think, who buy new construction who think that since it's new construction, I don't need a home inspection.
I've heard it my whole life.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, I can save money on a home inspection. Like, no, you absolutely need one. Often I think sometimes more than existing homes, because at least with an existing home, it's a little bit easier to spot when things are going wrong, because it's usually because of age, and age related issues usually show a lot easier than maybe something that's construction related, that is going to take more time to show the impact of some of those things.
Mhm.
So yeah, you absolutely need an inspection, even if you're getting a new construction home, because new construction does not mean it's going to be perfect. Doesn't mean the job was done well. Things can get rushed, or there can just be quality assurance issues that maybe weren't checked off.
I've heard from, because I've sold houses forever, that most people that think that they don't need an inspection because of it being new construction is because they're like, well, the city comes out and then inspects it and it passes their inspections.
Oh,
That's what the
yeah.
logic of why do I need that? Because it's already been, approved for the plumbing. It's already been approved for the electrical. I mean, they came out here and permitted it and they checked it and they approved it. So I don't need that inspection. That's why some people feel like it's not necessary. But I promise you with every fiber of my being, it is the best money you ever spent on probably the most expensive thing you've ever purchased.
Yeah.
Just get that home inspection. So.
Yeah, because the city only cares about, is the home suitable for like a human being to live inside of and not die, pretty much is kind of the standard that they're looking at, versus like a normal home inspector is actually looking at, are there going to be repairs that are going to cost you $5,000 in the next month or the next year? And if so, let's spot them and fix them now, rather than they're an issue and then you have to fix them later or try to find a builder to come back for it.
Mm-hmm. So it says most of the Midwest, Southeast, and Southern California remain pre-pandemic inventory levels. In contrast, many parts of the Gulf Coast, including Tampa, Florida, New Orleans, and Mountain West, have ticked up to pre-pandemic inventory levels. And I think a lot of it, especially I know for here, it's about the insurance. Some of the metro areas where home buyers have the edge right now in activity, inventory is above pre-pandemic levels, include aforementioned Tampa, New Orleans, plus Austin, Memphis, Dallas, Nashville, Denver, San Antonio, Texas, and Jacksonville, Florida. One thing I want to point out to you guys, so New Orleans is at pre-pandemic levels, but New Orleans is literally 35 minutes from Baton Rouge. That market is completely different than the Baton Rouge market. So if you were to read this headline and read this article, you would think, oh, there's tons of inventory, tons of inventory. I can really make a deal. But that it is so incredibly different. The real estate agents are different. How they handle business out there is completely different. I would never in a million years try to sell or work as a real estate agent in New Orleans, because that market is so completely different than ours. That's something to be aware of. Like, when you hear us talk about these numbers and you hear us talk about these cities, it's still important to understand what's happening in that little micro real estate market that you're looking to purchase, because it could be completely different. Yeah. So, this is back to that question. Noreen said, how do you think Helene is going to impact insurance rates in Florida and beyond? This is just my crystal ball guess of what's going to happen. I think we're going to see a lot more. The insurance or insurance companies that are still out there are probably going to start pulling back, more of them. And then it's going to be that citizens government run insurance, and it's going to be sky high, and they're not going to cover as much. If you can get a policy, they're going to say, okay, well, we'll cover fire, but we're not going to cover wind and hail damage, or we'll cover wind and hail damage, but we're not going to cover hurricane damage. They're taking the most expensive things off the policy just for you to have insurance, but it's not really helping you. It's helping you keep your mortgage, because you have to have insurance in order to have that mortgage. But some people are actually even saying, you know what, I'm going to take my chances. I've already paid off this house. I'm just going to take my chances and not have homeowners insurance.
I can't imagine. I know that's also happening too, for some people in California and surrounding cities or surrounding states too, with fires as well, where people are looking at insurance policies that don't include fire damage, and either needing to get like a separate rider for it, or just foregoing it and hoping for the best, which is tough, because then, I mean, getting a mortgage, it needs to cover, fire, it has to cover windstorms, hail. It's got to be the whole picture there, which makes it really difficult for people to buy.
And anytime that you're looking at homeowners policies, a lot of times if you're not in a flood zone, and I think this needs to be noted because I would have never thought in Asheville, North Carolina, that they would have that flooding situation like they do. I mean, it is catastrophic. And the majority of those people don't live in a flood zone and they didn't have flood insurance. And their homeowner's insurance does not cover the damage that happens to your house. It will not cover your contents. It will not cover what it costs to rebuild those houses. I mean, this is devastating. And most people think, well, I don't live in a flood zone. I don't need to carry that policy. Every single person, if you are near water, any way, shape, or form, needs to have flood insurance, because you never think that you need it until you do. And then you're so thankful that you have it. It's not that expensive. Especially if you're not in any kind of, if you're in flood zone X, it's minimal in comparison if you are in a flood zone. So, the thing is, those policies would come down in price if more people who didn't live in a flood zone would start, covering their houses, because then it would bring down the cost of flood insurance. So just get the flood insurance, just get it. So Minnie's
Do we have any calls yet? Oh, sorry, another question.
We only have one call that came in. Minnie's art studio says, I'm in North Colorado and they're building outrageously priced homes here. Do you think prices will go down on older homes? So traditionally, that's what happens. The market will dictate how much homes will go up and down, right? So if they're building outrageously priced housing and it's in the same square footage, like, okay, so there's a 12-year-old house down the road and it's 6,000 square feet. And then there's new construction and it's 6,000 square feet and it's way, way higher. Well, if it's way, way higher, then all that's going to do is raise the price of that 12-year-old house, right? And that's what happened during the pandemic, because new construction was so incredibly high. That's why those already built homes kept going up in price, because they were like, well, we got to wait, for your house to be ready and everything else. And people are like, I want to move now while the interest rates are so good. They were taking anything. But if you have an oversupply of those houses that are sitting on the market that the builder can't get rid of, that's 6,000 square feet, and then you've been on the market for a while and they keep dropping their price, well, that means the price of your 6,000 square foot home that's 10 years old is going to be lower, much lower, because there's more competition in the market.
Yeah. And for as long as we have this tight inventory, the difference between like new and existing doesn't really matter. It's not like age is going to take down the value, because it's still so much in demand compared to how much supply there is. So we won't really see those. There's not like those big differences between, like, it's not like a new car versus a used car. As long as there's, only 5 cars available and 100 people wanting to buy a car.
Right. Like, what makes your house less sellable? I mean,
Yeah.
you got to remember, when the supply was so tight, people were like looking at like homes that were like leaning off to the side, and they're like, well, how much does it cost to fix that? They were so, like, people were having FOMO and buying a lot of houses for an inflated price because they just needed to find a house at that interest rate. You must have been very busy at that time, since you're the mortgage guy.
When rates were dropping.
Yeah. Back in
they increased applications a little bit.
Just a scotch. Yep.
Yeah.
Who's up first says, don't most new homes come with a warranty, like 5 years or so? Okay. So this is a great question, by the way. Most new homes do come with some kind of builder's warranty, but that doesn't mean that they actually stay with that warranty. Like, they don't necessarily honor that warranty. Some states, like my state of Louisiana, has something called the New Home Warranty Act. So you have the builder's warranty, and then the state says, there's certain things that you can't have happen to your house within 5 years or 10 years. For instance, like our slab can't fall apart within 10 years. If there's a problem with that slab, I get a hold of the builder and they have to fix it. Like, you have X amount of time for your roof, and the builders may not offer that, but the state secures the fact that they have to fix those items. The problem that we're having with builders is that they know that they have what I call like the bumper to bumper warranty, like you would with a car. And there's scratches, there's outlets don't work, there's GFCIs that need to be installed. They left things on the punch list saying, don't worry about it, go ahead and move on in, we'll fix it. But they know that you only have that year. So they're trying to run out the time clocks to not fix those minor items that they feel like, well, you can fix them. What's the big deal? It's just a little bit of touch-up paint, but it's your brand new home. You want it to be perfect.
Mhm.
You should have it perfect. You shouldn't be fixing things within that first year. They should. That's my opinion on that anyway. Yep. Oh, look, or Noreen said the Asheville flooding reminds me of the flooding in Vermont experience with Irene. You guys don't know this, but back in 2016, we had a huge flooding event on a storm that was never named, but that system stalled over the top part of Louisiana, right? So all that water that was up in North Louisiana started coming down the canals and the bayous, and it came in the middle of the night, and it was a perfectly sunny day. You would never even have thought, and then all of a sudden, the I-10 is covering up. Everything is just starting to get swallowed by water, and flash floods happened in the middle of the night. There was no warning. It just happened. And it was devastating. There were people, I'm not joking when I tell you this, their homes were flooded for over 8 months before they were able to get those 8 months. I'm like, that's a loss.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was in an area that never flooded before. Just because systems fell apart. Infrastructure happened. Yep. Charlton Zimmerman says, will this bad weather, Helene, affect insurance costs for new buys in certain areas or all over? Well, that's going to happen no matter where. Like everywhere that has a high likely opportunity to have a catastrophic weather event, whether that's hurricanes or that doesn't have to, or earthquakes. I know earthquakes are not weather related, but hurricanes, earthquakes, fires, wind damage, any tornadoes, anything like that, you're going to see your insurance costs go up. The insurance companies say it's too high for them to do replacement costs now, and they have to make up that money somehow. My insurance went up double, so you're going to see it more and more and more.
Yeah. Same thing with car insurance. Car insurance has gone up a ton. Wasn't it like 20% over the past year? I think it was nationally too.
And I have like 3 cars that are paid off. And what we pay for cars that do not even have a payment on. Like, I understand when you have a payment on it that you have to carry more insurance, but we don't have a payment on it. And like mine is just incidental. Like if I hurt them, I'll pay for their car. But if my car gets totaled, it's just throw it away. It was a $2,000 car. I don't care. And even still, that was super expensive. And I've never had a ticket, never been in an accident.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Noreen says, if the builder goes bankrupt, isn't the warranty useless? You are correct. The warranty is absolutely useless. And a lot of times, some of these builders come in when it's a hot market. You've never heard of them before. They build these houses super fast. And then they just all of a sudden go either bankrupt or they just disappear off the face of the earth. We had that happen after Katrina here. There was a neighborhood that was built, and they just started putting up these houses like popcorn, boom, boom, boom. They had a ton of problems with them. Then all of a sudden, they just disappeared. They went bankrupt and no one could find them. And those people were stuck with homes that had foundation issues, paint peeling. They were just really bad quality built homes. You were correct. Yep. Full coverage car insurance rose on average 26% in 2024. Yep. 26%.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. My car insurance sucks.
Yeah. Mine does too. Mine does too. Oh, here we go. Question for Kyle. It seems to me that mortgage lenders have learned how to make more money by adding fees to loans. What are some tips to negotiate those add-ons?
Oh, interesting. I'd be curious if could you give me an example of some of these fees that you've seen or what they've been called? And maybe I can address some of those specifically, but I think in general, like closing costs are really confusing to people. Basically what happened is you had the 2008 crash, and then all of a sudden the government came in and said somebody has to tell everybody how mortgages work, and how all of home buying financing works. And so they put that on the responsibility of loan officers. And so basically what all loan officers have to do is they have to give you a document called a loan estimate when you buy a home, and that loan estimate has to detail effectively every single cost that's included in buying a home. Now, the frustrating part there is that your lender's fees, the lender's portion of closing costs, is usually only going to make up about probably 10% or less of your closing costs. All of your other closing costs, ooh, we switched. All of our those other closing costs come from other parties. So, for instance, when you buy a home, we've talked about, we were talking about a home inspector. Well, the home inspector needs to be paid. That's part of closing costs. Your lender doesn't charge that, but it's closing costs that you pay. But a lot of people just assume it's a junk fee the lender's charging me. So you have things like a home inspector, you have an appraiser. Someone's going to have to go out and value the home that is actually worth what you're paying for. You also have the county is going to charge property taxes. They also may charge a recording fee. Or not may, they're going to charge a recording fee to record the deed and the mortgage. There may be transfer taxes in your county or your state as well. You also are going to have a title company who's going to do a search of the home to make sure that you own it. They're also going to insure the title to make sure that if someone comes with a fraudulent claim later, or an estranged person from some estate wants to come take claim to your property, that you're protected. You also have homeowners insurance that you're going to be paying as well. So all of these things, I think what ends up happening is happens all the time, is we'll give a quote to somebody and then they talked with another lender and they're like, well, I'm going to go with this other lender because their insurance is lower. Neither of us provide insurance, but the government made it our job to estimate insurance. And what's really frustrating about that is lenders don't give out insurance. And so what ends up happening is you have sometimes sketchy lenders will go and they'll just underquote insurance. For instance, if I know someone's going to buy in Florida, well, legally a lender could say your insurance is going to be $500 a year. They can legally say that. Now your insurance isn't going to be that, but what a lot of people do is they'll say, I'll go work with that lender because they're giving me lower insurance. The lender's job is just trying to give you an estimate. We try to give as fair of an estimate as possible because we want people to have realistic expectations. And we think that under quoting just to try to win somebody's business, knowing that it's not going to be that low, is a pretty bad way to stay in business for a long time. So we don't do it. But that's where I think a lot of people think that, the lender's charging me all these fees, and so I just need to go with the lender that's charging me the lowest. But in reality, most of those are estimates. Your lender only controls on the loan estimate on page 2. There's section A and B. That's the only thing that the lender controls. Those are the origination charges and the services that you can't shop for. Everything else on the loan estimate, your title company, your title insurance, you get to shop for that. Recording fees, transfer taxes, it's up to the county. You can't really do anything about that. Homeowners insurance, you get to shop that. Everything else you get to shop. So I haven't really seen these like added fees just to make money that lenders have. But I'd be curious if this person has any specific examples.
The other fee that always throws people off is the doc fee, like all your doc stamp fees. Do you have that in your area, doc stamp fees?
In our area, I don't think specifically, but in some areas they do.
Yeah, we have doc stamp fees, and people are like, "What was this?" And it was like, "There's no negotiating. I mean, it is what it is. That's just how much it costs for the doc stamp fees, like in every single title company." But that is another thing you can price out your title company. You can price out your real estate agent. You can negotiate your home lenders. You can negotiate your inspections for your house. Everything's negotiable. That's what my dad always told me. Everything. Yep. Our closing costs negotiable. No. I'm going to send this back to you. You've already told them how much they need in closing costs in order to get the loan closed, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't negotiate those down because you need those to close the loan. Am I right about that?
Yeah. The only thing that's like, I am confused when people ask about negotiating closing costs, because it's like, well, which ones are you negotiating?
Right.
Because some are negotiable. Sure, like a title company. Sure, I could choose a different title company. Pretty much every title company is going to charge about the same thing. They might be
About the same.
$100 or $2 off. They're almost always super close.
Mhm.
The only other thing that's negotiable is your insurance. You can't negotiate property taxes. You can't negotiate the county fees. You can't negotiate transfer taxes. That's about it. So everything
You
else.
can't negotiate if you are on the buyer side, and you can negotiate before you even start working with a real estate agent how much you're willing to charge for concessions for the real estate agent's fee. Well, that's a new thing, so you can do that. That came to fruition in August, so that's one fee that can change. But you would do that prior to putting in an offer for a home. You've already negotiated that with that real estate agent. That's the form that you're filling out to discuss the real estate agent's fee. That would be the only closing cost, but you would know that prior before you would buy the house.
Yeah. Are you seeing a lot of negotiations around buyer agent commissions?
This is the God honest truth, because they kind of backfired and not in a good way for the public. Because what happened was is that everybody heard that it was 3%. That's what they used to charge. So now that people are now working with buyers exclusively, they're immediately saying 3%, 3%. So the customer's like, oh, it's 3%, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what,
Yeah.
So they're paying that, even though whenever it was vice versa, when it was the old way, they only got 2.5%.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Yeah. I mean, the way the whole thing went down, to me, felt more like the lawsuit was much more about the attorneys and the plaintiffs getting paid more than, or the defendant. I don't know what plaintiff. Yeah. Getting paid more so than protecting the consumer, because it originated from a lawsuit like this. I think if it was actually intended on protecting the consumer, it should come from like more of a regulatory body rather than a lawsuit. But yeah, it's frustrating.
This is a great question. Charlton Zimmerman says, no one talks about PMI insurance. Who issues that and who sets the rates?
I talk about PMI all the time.
I know, you should go over to his channel. Win the house you love.
Yeah. So PMI, it's private mortgage insurance. It's on conventional loans. If you get a government loan like FHA or USDA, technically they do have their own mortgage insurance, but they're called different things. Like FHA, for some reason, calls it MIP. They just rearrange the letters. But basically, on a conventional loan, if you put less than 20% down, then you have to pay private mortgage insurance. It basically is just like an extra layer of protection for the lenders, so that if you default on your loan, if you don't pay it back, it basically is like insurance for your lender to be able to recoup that money to go through the legal process for a foreclosure. And so people are often like, well, they should be paying it. Okay, then they would just increase your rate. Like you're going to pay for it no matter what. That's just how it's going to work. What was the follow-up question with there? How does it, or who issues that? Yeah, so actually most mortgage lenders don't issue PMI. What ends up happening is there's actually companies on the back end that issue PMI. So those are companies like Enact, you have Arch, Genworth. Those are kind of the big MI companies. And they're the ones who control pricing for PMI. And PMI pricing is somewhat similar to how interest rates are given, with a couple minor differences. Private mortgage insurance looks at things like how many borrowers are on the loan. So if there's more borrowers on the loan, PMI is actually lower, versus if you have more borrowers on a loan, the interest rate doesn't change. So interest rates don't care about how many people are on the loan. Mortgage insurance does. Mortgage insurance cares about the debt to income ratio, or the percentage of the mortgage compared to your income. Mortgage rates actually don't compare or care about the debt to income ratio. So slight differences, but basically you as a home buyer don't get to shop PMI. Lenders don't let you do that. Basically what happens is when we price out a loan on the back end, the lender effectively just gives us what the insurance rate's going to be on that loan. Now we get to choose different lenders and which one we work with. In the PMI world, pretty much everyone's the same. It's kind of similar to like title companies. It's like you're not going to have huge differences in PMI. If there's differences, it might be $5 a month.
Right.
Nothing crazy. And so what we end up doing is going with the lender that offers the lowest monthly payment for somebody possible, which usually is driven by the lender with the lowest rate. PMI, again, you might find a difference of $5 a month. I'm not going to put someone in a higher interest rate just because they can save $5 a month on PMI, because the total cost is still going to be higher for them. So that's what we're looking at when we're comparing those two different sides.
When you said like when you're talking about the PMI companies, you're like, that's like behind the scenes. I was like, there's a group of like old men with old stogies going, all right, these are what the rates are going to be.
This is the PMI rate today.
Yeah,
That's kind of how that's kind of how it feels.
Yeah, it does feel like that. Eddie, there was a question. This is going to look really strange on the screen, but because it came from my phone. But somebody asked this question last week, so we could answer it this week, and it's specifically for you, Kyle. Eddie's going to put it on the screen. We're gonna look weird for a minute, if he can find it.
I will sit here and feel weird.
Here we are. It says, question for your next video with Kyle. How can ordinary people find... Oh, that was the same person.
I know. I was thinking that's the person who we just mentioned about their account.
Oh, you know what? I had saved your question too. Man, oh man. Well, at least you got to ask it during the chat. But this is a great time, though, to show how you can actually call into the stream. So if you're wanting to have your question answered live and you want to like leave me a little voicemail, I have a new service. You can call 888-255-0197. You leave a message with the AI Kristina that sounds a little grumpy, and you just ask your real estate question. And this is what it's going to look like. So go ahead, Eddie, if you could do that call, please.
Brandon, Phoenix, Arizona. Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to say I would love to hear a discussion between you and Todd Sachs on Sachs Realty YouTube channel. I think a discussion between you two would be quite interesting, given that he used to be a home builder in the Northeast. So I feel like you could have a very interesting discussion. Thank you.
He wants me to have an interview with Todd Sachs. I need to reach out to him. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I love talking affordable housing. I'll reach out. That was great, Brandon. I appreciate you calling in and leaving a message. I'll reach out to the Sachs, what is it? Sachs Realty? Is that it? Sachs Realty YouTube channel? Do you know that one?
Yeah, I think so. I have heard of it, but I don't watch any of the videos. I actually kind of don't watch any videos in the real estate YouTube world. But you kind of do that similar, don't you? You don't really watch a ton.
Only if I find that it's like super relevant to my channel, because I want to hear what they have to say. Because a lot of times they say the wrong thing. It's like, I'm going to give you a perfect example. I will never watch a video from a real estate agent about mortgage rates because they are not mortgage lenders, right? Only time I ever talk about mortgage rates is like, this is what the national number is right now. But I would never give anybody recommendations on FHA loans, VA loans. There's very few. I think Jeb Smith. Yeah, Jeb Smith is a mortgage lender. He has his license. He can talk about that stuff. But all the other like real estate agents that are doing that, they need to stop because they're not lenders. You know, I know my wheelhouse, you know. So unless it's relevant to my audience, if it's something about modular homes and I hear a real estate agent talking about them, I want to hear what they have to say. Because, you know, I don't claim that I know everything, and I like to hear other people's take on things. So I'm sure that I've seen their videos. I'm almost positive I've seen their live streams. So I'd like to I don't mind taking a little gander over there, give them a little ringy.
Okay. Yeah. How often do you do like, do you do like collabs a lot, or you mainly just stick with you do like the live kind of format?
Collabs are on the live. Collab videos are kind of always turn into a nightmare.
Yeah. I have I've told you my nightmare of my collab attempts, so I stick away from those. Unvetted collabs.
Yes. Vanessa Love says, question for wind and fire insurance combined, on average, how much would it be a year? Oh, that depends on the structure. Like, that's kind of like one of those things. I'm not an insurance agent, but we had got offer because we were shopping around when our homeowners insurance doubled. And we got this one offer and it was half the price what we were currently paying. And they were like, we're going to go ahead and send over this policy for you to look over. And I was like, it didn't cover hail, didn't cover wind, didn't cover hurricane. I'm like, who would get this? What would be the purpose
Yeah.
of
So what
having
does it
this?
cover?
Yeah. Fire, robbery,
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
fire, robbery, like that was pretty much it. So, I mean, it took off like the $1,500 for the hurricane. They took off, $1,000, for the other stuff. But that had to do with my specific structure. Every building is going to have a different homeowners insurance quote because it has to do with your credit. It has to do with your the structure itself. How old is it? How old is your roof? How old is your area? How often does it get hit by those kinds of problems? I mean, there's so many different factors that go in. There isn't a specific amount that I could say, oh yeah, as a rule of thumb, this is how much is going to come off.
Well, and I know, I was going back to when we kind of give estimates of insurance for people. I know one of the things that's always frustrating about that is, sometimes I might give a general estimate for somebody about homeowners insurance, but I didn't know that they had 3 Rottweilers. And so
Yeah.
that changes their insurance quite a bit. So when they come back to me with insurance, I'm like, whoa, this quote is really, normally I stay out of people's business with insurance, but sometimes you get those quotes back. I'm like, man, this is crazy. Have you actually taken a look at other options here? And they're like, well, they said it's because of the dogs I have or things like that. Like, yeah, that's not things I can really factor in because we don't do insurance. Yeah.
I'm more afraid of those chihuahuas.
Those seem to be more vicious.
They
Yeah.
are very vicious. Rick Smith says, does it hail a lot in Baton Rouge, Louisiana? I'd say probably once a year. If I'm going to average it out, probably once a year. In the summertime, it will come out of nowhere and it's like super green outside and you're thinking, oh my God, is there going to be a tornado? And then you get some hail. We do in the spring a little bit. But it isn't too often. It seemed like it was a much more often probably about 10 years ago than it is now. But yeah, it happened. It happens. You can't rule it out,
The P28 lots of numbers letters person has a follow-up to their closing cost thing that I could help with.
Okay, go ahead.
Is there name calling happening in here? Uh-oh. Yeah, okay, so they said an add-on would be the credit cost or credit check cost. Yeah, so that's been a really interesting thing in the lending world right now because basically there's a little bit of a would it technically be called a monopoly? Basically, we have Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion keep raising the cost to be able to pull a credit report, and they're the only people that exist in the credit reporting space. So there's a little bit of it feels like they're all colluding to just increase the price year after year after year. And so now running a credit check just to get someone pre-qualified for a mortgage is to the tune of close to $100, which may not sound like that much money, but every single person we talk to see if they can get a loan, it costs us $100. And so it's not uncommon for us to have a credit reporting bill in the neighborhood of $8,000 to $10,000 per month. So it's a pretty significant cost for pulling credit reports, right? Like it's not something that we enjoy paying for because we want those to turn into loans or else we lose that money. So what's ended up happening is this weird mix of, okay, some lenders are like, maybe we're going to charge some of that money to people so we can reduce that cost. Because again, $25 out of 100, may reduce that $10,000 bill to $7,500. That makes a pretty big difference in the bottom line of a lot of smaller mortgage companies. And then you also have companies, we're on the side of we think that if we charge people for a credit report, it's, if they're talking with multiple lenders, you don't want to be the one who's charging for a credit report and no one else is. So it's this weird mix of, do you front the cost of it? Are there ways that you can try to see the viability of that person getting approved before they go through the process? So that's what we do. And that's what a lot of lenders are starting to do is they'll do a soft credit pull first. So we want to see, is there even a viable option for this to turn into a loan? because usually we can spot about half of those. Okay, maybe there's some issues we need to work on with the client before we can move forward with the pre-qualification, and the other half, then we can move forward with, okay, we'll actually do a full credit pull and we'll front the cost of that. But that usually ends up being the best solution. But it is weird for a lot of lenders because it's really expensive. I don't think people realize that, like, some of those expenses that go on in the background.
Oh, so this is interesting. It says many who've watched your videos also follow Todd Sachs. He said he asked to be on his show. He said he asked me to be on the show twice. Let me do a little. Let me.
Oh, are you ducking over there?
I'm gonna. If that was the case, I'm gonna honestly tell everybody. 99.9% of the time, if I avoid somebody's email, it's not that I'm avoiding them. It's that I get 1 billion scam emails a day, like, honestly. And it's hard for me to determine sometimes if it's a real thing. All right. And
Especially
I'm looking all the way back. I did all of mine. It says the last one I got was in 2023, and this person wasn't even a part of Todd Sachs thing. And here's another one.
Maybe, is it possible someone
In
DM'd you or something like that?
Melissa Levie, Levie, in 4/19/2021 was when I was reached out to.
Did they DM you by chance?
No, just email. I've never gotten a DM from them. So, whoopsie, I'm going to reach out to them. Now that I know it's legit. It's even gotten so much easier for them now, because what they do, the scammers, they'll copy somebody's information as their signature tag, and then they'll use AI to create this email that seems legitimate. And I've seen so many people click on the wrong links. I've seen people just lose their whole entire channels. So it was most likely it was most likely I just didn't think it was real. So I'm going to reach out to him. Sorry,
damn,
Todd.
what's the drama with Melissa? What's going on?
There's something going on in the chat.
Melissa's gone. I miss Melissa. I remember Melissa. Melissa worked with him. They just split.
Oh, that
Maybe
must be
Kristina can hire
some
Melissa.
Todd Sachs drama. Not on my end. I don't know Melissa. I thought they were. Maybe Kristina can hire Melissa.
Yeah, what's happening over here? Goodness.
Yeah. So, whoops. I will reach out to Todd. Yeah. Everybody remembers Melissa. Oh my gosh, I feel so bad. I don't even know her. Did she just not? Let's hope she didn't pass away or something crazy.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I hope not.
All right, now we get back to the real questions about real estate. All right, V-Man says, question: if you have a claim, say on your roof, just to have an agent come out and look at your roof, make sure it's okay. By doing that, they can raise your rate. Is that true? But no repairs were needed. I'm not an insurance person. I'm not 100% sure, but I will tell you this. I've learned my lesson by, if you want to have your roof looked at, when you have an insurance agent come out there, they're insurance agents and they're there to protect their employer. So they will tell you, and this happened to us in Florida, your roof is fine. It needs a little bit of minor repairs. Don't even make a claim. Go ahead and, this has got at least another 5 years on this roof. That happened to my husband and I. We had a hurricane that came through. Everybody else was getting new roofs. I'm like, we probably should get this changed. This was before I was in real estate. The insurance company comes out. He walks the whole entire roof. He's like, oh, no, you got 5 more years on this roof. You're totally fine. We end up putting the house on the market 3 months later. And they were like, there is not one piece of gravel on any of the shingles on your roof. And it has been eaten up by the storm damage has wiped off all the gravel, and your pipes have had squirrels chew all around them. You're lucky that it hasn't leaked inside. And I was like, holy cow. And so we had to replace the whole roof while the house was up for sale. And that came out of our own pockets because the insurance agent lied to us. So on the other hand, when you hire a roofing company to come out to say, hey, do I need a new roof? Of course they're going to say, absolutely, you need a new roof. As a matter of fact, we'll help you file that claim. You may not need it. So I just would find an independent inspector to inspect your roof before you decide to get your roof repaired. A lot of times, sometimes it's just, you just needed a few shingles. You don't need a whole entire roof removed. We had a tornado that hit our house years ago, and it only hit one side. So they only replaced that one section of the roof. They didn't need a whole entire roof. So, yeah. Debbie Brady says, question, if I'm planning on relocating to Oregon to retire, can you recommend whether to look at homes first or be pre-approved for a mortgage? Hoping to put down about 40% or more. What would you say, sir? I know the answer to this.
I just first have to quickly show you how my brain is broken. When I saw Future Shaper, I was thinking like Debbie was saying, in the future, I'm going to become a shaper. And I was trying to figure out, what is a shaper? And so that was about 20 seconds going on in my brain. And I realize now Debbie means I'm going to shape the future. Okay. So now moving on from the stupid thing that's happening in my mind, 100%, you should get pre-approved for a mortgage first. I know it's boring and it's not exciting, but basically, especially with the market the way it is right now, you're going to want to look at homes. I promise you're going to find something that you may want to make an offer on. And what ends up happening is people normally, they like scroll, they find a house, they go view it, and they're like, I need to make an offer on this house. And then they're scrambling. They're trying to put documents together. They're trying to talk to a loan officer. They can't get multiple quotes because they didn't have enough time. They need to put an offer in tonight. It's just so much stress. It's so much easier to say, I'm going to put a pause in the home search. I'm going to go ahead and get pre-approved right now. I'm going to get all my documents together, make sure I know I can actually get approved for this mortgage. Otherwise, then you run into situations sometimes where it's maybe I found the home, I put in an offer, and then I can't get approved for a mortgage, or maybe it's higher than I ever thought I should take on. And so many people put themselves in a bad situation because they were like, well, I fell in love with the house, so I have to get it. They take on this mortgage payment that's way too uncomfortable for them. I'd rather you get those, know you can get the money up front, be comfortable with what that budget is. And then when you look for homes, you'll have a nice little constraint of, I know I can only buy homes up to X. Anything else is immediately out of the list. And it makes that narrowing that search process down a little bit easier.
Good answer. Good answer.
Thank you.
If anybody remembers Family Feud, they always, whenever somebody would finish answering, they go, good answer, good answer.
It's always some stupid answer. And they're like, yeah, that was great.
Yeah, I have no idea what you just said. That sounds fantastic. I heard you. I'm still upset that Todd Sachs says they invited me on his live stream twice. I'm still thinking about that. I'm like, that never happened, I swear. Thanks for answering, Kyle. I do understand that aspect. However, the transparency thing, a lender isn't going to tell you, oh, we can waive this for you instead of this is negotiable.
I've never heard of a lender being able to just waive something for you, because all those costs are real. I mean, there's a real reason why those costs exist. There's one exception here. There's, when you buy a home, most loans are going to have an underwriting fee. It's usually going to be around $900 to $1,200. Now there is an option that you can actually waive the underwriting fee. And even in like the interest rate software, we can press a little checkbox that says waive the underwriting fee. Well, kind of. I mean, you're waiving the upfront cost, but it gets baked into the rate. So you basically have a choice. Pay the underwriting fee and get a lower rate, or don't pay an underwriting fee and get a higher rate. So those are your options. So technically, yeah, maybe I don't consider that negotiating because you didn't win anything. The negotiation didn't happen. The lender doesn't care. When we look at the underwriting fee, I don't care what people do. It doesn't change. The underwriting fee in no way impacts. It doesn't even go to us. The underwriting fee goes to an underwriter. So it really is up to people who are either, do you need to save money up front for closing costs? If so, we'll waive the underwriting fee. You have a touch of a higher rate. I'm talking like a touch, like less than 1/8 of a percent most of the time. versus do you want to pay that cost up front and get long-term savings? It really is up to people's strategy with their costs, whether they want long-term interest savings or they want upfront cost savings. And there's always kind of a play between those two.
Huh. Good to know. TWE Evil says, was it Twee Evil? Or
Tweevil? Like a weevil?
Maybe Tweevil. But look at his little picture.
What is that little baby Yoda holding?
A pumpkin. I think it's a pumpkin.
Is that what it is? It's kind of hard to see on my screen.
I think it's Winnie the Pooh's head.
He's holding Winnie the Pooh's head?
If you look really close. Maybe it's my glasses. I'm going to go with it's a pumpkin, but it doesn't look like Winnie the Pooh's head. Seller's disclosure is nothing but not knowns. And if the info for the insurance quote is on an investment is a rental property, it's stopping me from getting insurance quotes. What should I say? Seller is sneaky. Ooh, well, the thing is, and your insurance company knows this. If the house, like it's an investor, then they flipped it and stuff, there's still things that have been filed on that house. They have something called a clue report. And like, I'm not an insurance agent, but this is what I know about insurance. They have something called a clue report. So any filed claims that were done on that house stay with that house until that house burns to the ground. And when it burns to the ground, it's still on the clue report and that it was been rebuilt by the insurance company. So you can have them pull up a clue report to see what things were filed, right? The second thing you could do to help with your insurance company is have that home inspection and bring that to the insurance company so they can see the things that were going to be or need to be fixed in that house if they're going to be repaired by the seller. So that's one of those ways you can get around it. But I know what you're saying about property disclosures, and nothing burns my rear end more when they say, I know nothing about the property. I'm just an investor. But you stripped everything down to the drywall. You've replaced plumbing. You've put in new showers. You've replaced roof shingles. You've added more insulation, but you know nothing about the property and you just put not known. You know a lot about the property. Some states don't allow you to do that. But some do, because they were like, well, I just bought it and fixed it up, but I don't know anything about it because I didn't live in the property. Sneaky.
A Mickey shaped pretzel. You know, I was staring at that and I was like, it looks, I could not figure out what it was. I'm just glad it's not like a Silence of the Lambs type Winnie the Pooh situation.
I swear when I look at that, it looks like Winnie the Pooh. It looks like
it does. It does.
It looks like a severed Winnie the Pooh head.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. It was like Winnie the Pooh's face and Baby Yoda's like, I'm gonna take Winnie the Pooh's clout. I'm gonna wear this. And no, it's a pretzel. But okay. We'll move on.
I'll go with pretzel. Charlton says new shingles are lighter made and blow off easier in high winds. They're supposed to be sealed down and stick, but don't. Ooh, Landmark Pro. CertainTeed's Landmark Pro shingles offer durability, impact, and algae-resistant Class A fire rating, easy installation. You know, I don't know if you guys know this, but for a brief period of time, my husband was a roofer. So I'm sure that's what he's recommending. Eddie, if you want to just put your voice on there and let everybody know, is that what you're recommending? Is that specific type of roof shingle to hold the... I want to know where...
Yes.
Yes, he is. That is the one he recommends. What was I going to say? Oh, what happened to Elon Musk's roof shingles that were supposed to be solar powered and save the universe?
That was the thing?
Yes. So he came out with roofing shingles that were like going to look like regular roofing shingles. And they were supposed to be solar panels.
He made them and they're hard to install.
Oh, he made them and they're hard to install. Okay. Thank you, Edward. Eddie had to put it in his 2 cents. If you guys don't know, that's the little producer in the background. That's who's putting the words up on your questions on the screen. So are you looking them up right now?
Yeah, I've never heard of this before. I mean,
Thanks,
solar
Rick.
is not really an option in Ohio, so or at least not a cost saving option in Ohio. So I've never really. I always ignore the solar stuff.
So next week, everybody, you should know this, that we're going to be going over, instead of an article, we're going to be going over the top 10 most affordable cities in the United States. We're going to talk about them, and you're going to have your questions asked about that. So if you guys want to call in your question about the most affordable cities in the United States, or you just have any real estate question that you want to be asked, I will not put your full name on there. It's just going to be your first name. You can call in 888-255-0197. I have a confession. That is the first phone number I have memorized in probably 10 years.
I don't think I could tell you anybody's phone number right now.
No, that's what I think. Oh my God, if I got hit by a bus, I don't know anybody's phone number. Rick Smith says, my roof is held together with Gorilla Glue. Oh, I hope you don't live in South Louisiana. The lawnmower, best quote. He always has the best comments. He says, solar roofing shingles, the endless source of problems. Ain't that the truth? V-Man says, can you negotiate your loan with the bank by asking to pay interest only for 2 to 3 years to keep the mortgage low, and then have more return on investment, then change to a normal loan to sell it?
No, I've never heard of that before. Anything that's going to be interest only, you're going to be looking at something like a second lien. Like HELOCs normally are going to be interest only for about 10 years, and then you'll have a repayment period of 20. But I've never heard of an option like that before.
Maybe he's thinking of an ARM.
Even on an ARM, there's no like I've never heard of buying a home where it's an interest only payment ever. It's always going to include some sort of repayment. There are investment products.
How old are you?
Well, okay.
How long have you been a lender?
Current loans, not loans before the U.S. economy got destroyed. Current
I
loans,
remember lots of people that had interest only loans.
Yeah, currently that doesn't exist because of those situations, because it was just they're terrible products for most people.
Yeah, they're awful.
Oh, you do need a phone number jingle.
Yeah, I was just going to say, who's on first says you need a phone number jingle. Who's on? Literally, like every time a call comes up, who's on the phone? Who's on the phone? Time for the phone call.
I didn't realize we got to hear their voice too. Huh.
Yeah. So
do you think more people would call in if it was only the transcript and not their voice?
I don't know. I think there's some joy in hearing your own voice.
Yeah,
ask the question.
It is nice to hear the voice, because sometimes it's like, when you just see text in like Mickey Mouse pretzel avatars, it's hard to, there's people here, and it's nice to hear
I think the other
voice.
thing too, when you read a text or read a message, your frame of mind reading that message can sometimes skew the intent of the words. So there's been times that I've read a bunch of mean comments, and I got to one that was just a question, and I immediately was hostile, not realizing they were just asking a question. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was on me, because I read it that way. You can't hear the intent of the people's words when it's in a message. So when they get to ask those questions, and it's just a question, I think the intent of each one of their words makes more sense when you hear their voice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look, he said, Kyle, thanks for answering. Some lenders won't make their rate sheet available. Is that due to them not wanting to be able to add the cost of credits down the road?
No lender sheet should make the rate sheet available because it's not compliant. A rate sheet's not going to include, I have this stupid gnat around here. A rate sheet's not going to include any disclosures that would be compliant for the general public to actually see and understand. So that shouldn't be happening. And also, I'm sure companies don't want to give out their private, companies' data, whatever, to other companies potentially. So what you can do is ask your lender for, you don't need a rate sheet, but what you want to do is say, hey, I know that basically I get to choose my own rate. And if you want, I can kind of tag this into Clark had a question too about lender credits. So basically, like when a lender gives you a rate, everyone thinks that they just have one rate. But in reality, basically there's like two columns. So let's say the interest rate's here and then cost is here. So for $0 in cost, let's say you could get a 7% rate. Well, actually, you could ask your lender to give you a 6.5%. So we lower the rate, but that's going to increase the cost. So you might pay, let's say, 1.1% of the loan amount. So maybe you pay a couple $1,000s to get 6.5. So you basically paid upfront money to lower the interest rate. So if we go back to zero, let's say 7%, $0, you can do the opposite. You could actually say, actually, can you give me a 7.5 and then give me a credit of maybe 1 point? So it doesn't always work that way where 1 point is 0.5%. I'm just kind of using general numbers as examples. But so for this person, P28 extra number of letters, what you can say is, hey, can you give me a list of all the rates from 6% to 7% and tell me what the cost would be? That way you get to make the decision on what you want the cost structure to look like. That would probably be the best. You don't need to see the rate sheet because the rate sheet actually is going to include raw pricing plus a bunch of adjustments. You'd be sitting there doing the math for probably 30 minutes to come up with the right rate. That's why I know what a rate sheet looks like, but we don't use them because it would take me, again, like probably 10 minutes to accurately price multiple different scenarios for somebody versus software that can run it for you.
Use AI. This is a whole new world. Raymond, Super chat. Raymond Alvarado, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. I really appreciate that. Didn't even have a question. Just wanted to drop by and give a nice little super chat for the stream. I appreciate that. V-Man says, is it easier to call in and explain your question? And is it faster than typing it in and you have more room on the phone to explain yourself? You can leave as long messages as you want, right? The reason I was doing it that way is it was just a new way to interact with everybody on the stream, just to add a little bit of more pizzazz, a little more jazz hands to the screen. You can leave as long a message as you want. And I edit out most of the O's and ums and the dead space if you have a pause. And the AI, I'm not going to lie, the AI that answers it is kind of stupid. So if you take too long of a pause, it will go, what was that? But don't think I didn't catch the other part of it. Just keep talking. You know, AI Kristina's dumb. she doesn't hear so good either. So
can I defend myself with Barbara here?
You can do whatever you want.
Barbara said, I lost credibility because if you look on the internet, interest-only mortgages are all over the place. As I explained, interest-only mortgages are available for investment products.
Yes.
But for primary mortgages, which we were talking about, interest-only mortgages don't exist currently. If you find an option for it, I would love for you to send it to me. I would love to see it. I'm always happy to be wrong. I love new information. At the moment, when I search interest-only mortgages, the only thing I see are for second liens, like I mentioned, or investment properties. But for primary mortgages or first liens, there isn't interest only.
Yeah,
I'm open to being wrong.
A lot of investors use those interest only loans. They make me nervous.
As long as they get paid off fast, you know.
Yeah, every time I see that, like anytime I hear a investor, I'm like, you sure you want to do that? Nah, I know what I'm doing. They do. Kyle, thank you so much for being a part of the stream. If anybody wants to get a hold of Kyle, just jump over to Win the House You Love, subscribe to his channel. He talks about everything that has to do with mortgages and FHA and VA and all that stuff, because Kristina knows very little, and that's why I don't talk about it and I don't make videos about it. But Kyle sure does, and that's why we have him on here. If you guys want to listen to this and share this as a podcast, you can go to anywhere you listen to podcasts. Go to Kristina Smallhorn, Real Estate for Everyone, and go ahead and download tomorrow's episode. Eddie actually uploads that. So Eddie in the background, mysterious man in the background, man of mystery. He puts this up on the screen.
Thank you, Eddie.
If you need to get a hold of me or you're looking for a real estate agent in your area, you can always go to my website at KristinaSmallhorn.com, click on one of the pink buttons and fill out the form. Make sure you leave your phone number and I'll give you a call and we can talk about your real estate needs. And for one last time, I'm just going to let you know, if you want to get a hold of me on that voicemail, just dial 888-255-0197. Leave me a voicemail there from grumpy AI Kristina. That's kind of dumb.
It's not grumpy. No, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Well, the 2 seconds that I heard of it.
All right, and Eddie, I want you to go ahead and roll that closing video because I made one of those for you guys too, so you guys don't have to see me dance anymore. Apparently, people are. I had a 50.
Kristina signing off, this stream's about to close. Tiny homes, big dreams, the wisdom she bestows. Real estate queen, always keeping us in toes. Hustle on 1,000, every vibe she shows. Goodbye, Kristina, see you next time. In a world full of chaos, you bring the prime. From modular homes to the mortgage climb. Catch you on the flip in the next run. From mobile homes to mansion goals, Kristina's wisdom breaking molds. Dropping knowledge like we dropping gold. Fuel is locked in, never getting old.